Yeah, what's up, guys? Brand new video today, reaction video. Today we'll be reacting to the Fermi Paradox. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing the cool shades, it's because today's topic is a cool topic. We don't need the safety goggles today. Nothing toxic going on around here today. So, for today's topic, we're talking about the Fermi Paradox, and uh, I'm reacting to No Protocol break down the channel for us. Shout out to her. Before before we start the video though, I have a quick story for you guys. So just a few minutes ago, I was upstairs and then I was watching the news, MSNBC, and the anchor was on the news being all serious and everything, and it was like talking about the January 6th thing that happened, and then giving his views on it. And in the middle of his speech, unironically, this guy said, it's just like what Jay-Z said. And he brought up like a quote of Jay-Z. And at first, when I had Jay-Z, I was like, oh, maybe Jay-Z said something in an interview or something, and that really spoke to him and he wants to talk about it. These were like lyrics from a song Jay-Z wrote. Now, Jay-Z is a genius in his own right, right? But there's something that just felt ridiculous about this news anchor in his like all three episodes presenting the news, and you put up the lyrics of a Jay-Z song and then the music actually played. I just was like rapping about how people put their foot on the table of Nancy Pelosi in the Capitol, and I was like, okay, bars, but time and place, people, time and place. And as if that wasn't worse, he brought on somebody to also break down the bars and explain it to us. And then this man, came on in his suit also on the news, started like explaining what Jay-Z actually meant in that song. And it's like, I like watching bar breakdown videos on YouTube. Shout out to Screwface John, big fan. I like watching it. But when you're watching the news, and then this elderly man comes on the screen and he has like the gray hair and everything, and you think it's about to like, maybe former representative of something, and you think it's gonna start like talking about the case and how he's progressing in the House of Assembly. So the guy starts breaking down the bars, and you see this is what Jay-Z was actually trying to say, because this is and I couldn't help laughing because it just seems ridiculous to me. And then after they were done, and then they talked about how it's such a travesty what's going on in this great country. They talked about how Donald Trump has to be brought to justice, otherwise this country will never be the same. And then they took a quick break. And then when they came back, they started talking about how the House of Assembly established a committee to question Ticketmaster on the sale of Taylor Swift tickets. That happened in Congress. He questioning people on Taylor Swift tickets. I don't know what to make of that story. Make of it what you will. But to me, it just seemed like, as serious as these cases might be, and as serious as they want you to like take this cases as serious as possible, whether or not the case is that serious, I don't think it is. But whether or not the case is that serious, it's kind of undercuts themselves. I'm just saying, seeing Amy Klobuchar question somebody on why people weren't able to get the tickets to Taylor Swift after waiting for 6 hours, it doesn't necessarily carry the same tone with talking about insurrection and possible like incitement to violence and what you might call it. But anyway, back to this fun video. I said nothing toxic, dang it. toxic then, I guess. Fermi Paradox, no protocol, reacting to in a nutshell. And I know she's gonna go straight to the point and not give you guys any preamble, so don't worry, I got you guys. Thank you for listening to the story. Okay, let's start. I start to get my headphones in, of course. Aye. Let's go. Anytime.
I'll just start this one on the Fermi Paradox.
Fermi Paradox.
Are we the only living things in the entire universe?
The
The
jury's
observable
out.
universe is about 90 billion light years in
One second.
diameter.
My headphones are acting up. Just give me a second, please. Okay, yeah, we're good.
There are at least 100 billion galaxies, each with 100 to 1,000 billion stars. Recently,
After the last video I posted on the universe, I looked into how exactly they decipher how many stars there are, because I thought, well, surely nobody's counted that. And it turns out that they take a rough estimate considering what we know about the Milky Way. The thing is, the amount of stars on the Milky Way varies depending on the source. I've read anywhere from 100 billion to 400 billion stars. At least from I think it was 3 sources I've read. So if anybody has a better idea of how to explain that, feel free to weigh in down below.
we've learned that planets are very common too. And there are probably trillions and trillions of habitable planets in the universe, which means
For those of you, if you don't want to go through like the whole research to find out how many stars are in the sky, a good way, I will help you guys out. The actual amount of stars we have in the sky is what people call a shit ton. You're welcome.
there should
Seems
be
like a
lots of
lot.
opportunity for life to develop and exist, right? But where is it? Shouldn't the universe be teeming with spaceships? Let's take a step back.
Okay, so the Fermi Paradox is essentially asking the question of if there's such a high probability, or I'll say likelihood, of the existence of life on other planets, why haven't we seen it yet? Why do we have this lack of conclusive evidence? So hopefully the video gets into that and gives some sort of ideas, because realistically, we don't have any answers.
Even
I'll just speak to that real quick. My theory, I'm not an expert or a scientist and I haven't done the research, but sorry, the heater is kicking in. My thinking about why we haven't encountered any other life on the planet is because although there are millions and billions and how many trillions of galaxies out there, the probability that life will form on Earth the way it has is is almost impossible. It's almost a miracle, some might say. It's almost a miracle that we exist the way we do. The idea that life will form on the planet, that the planets will even be formed and be able to contain life that seem to thrive in said environment and seem to adapt to that environment the way we think and imagine and everything. The probability of such a thing also occurring more than once, I say it's slim to none. So probably there's no life in all those other planets, because the probability that we exist is also so minute. But that depends on just how many of the galaxies there are, because let's say it's a 1 in a billion chance or 1 in a trillion chance that the Earth will exist as it is, and if they're like, I don't know, a trillions of galaxies out there, then the probability is probably should have existed or also occurred a trillion times. But whatever, I'm going off track.
if there are alien civilizations in other galaxies, there's no way we'll ever know about them. Basically, everything outside of our direct galactic neighborhood, the so-called local group, is pretty much out of our reach forever because of the expansion of the universe. Even if we had really fast spaceships, it would literally take billions of years to reach these places. traveling through the emptiest areas in the universe. So let's focus on the Milky Way. The Milky Way is our home galaxy. It consists of up to 400 billion stars. That's
So
a
he
lot of
says
stars.
400 billion.
Counting one per second, it would take you 100 lifetimes to count them all. There are about 20 billion sun-like stars in the Milky Way, and estimates suggest that a fifth of them have an Earth-sized planet in its habitable zone, the area with conditions that enable life to exist. If only 0.1% of those planets harbored life, there would be 1 million planets with life in the Milky Way. But wait, there's more. The Milky Way is about 13 billion years old. In the beginning, it would not have been a good place for life because things exploded a lot. But after 1 to 2 billion years, the first habitable planets were born. Earth is only 4 billion years old, so there have probably been trillions of chances for life to develop on other planets in the past. If only a single one of them had developed into a space-traveling super civilization, we would have noticed by now.
Or
What
would
would
we?
such a civilization look like? There are 3 categories.
Type 1, 2, and
A
3.
Type 1 civilization would be able to access the whole energy available on its planet. In case you're wondering, we're currently around 0.73 on the scale, and we should reach Type 1 sometime in the next couple of hundred years. Type 2 would be a civilization capable of harnessing all of the energy of its home star. This would require some serious science fiction, but it is doable in principle. Concepts like the Dyson sphere, a giant complex surrounding the sun, would be conceivable. Type 3 is a civilization that basically controls its whole galaxy and its energy. An alien race this advanced would probably be godlike to us. But why should we be able to see such an alien civilization in the first place? If we were to build generation spaceships that could sustain a population for around 1,000 years, we could colonize the whole galaxy in 2 million years. Sounds like a long time, but remember, the Milky Way is huge. So if it takes a couple of million years to colonize the entire galaxy, and there are possibly millions, if not billions of planets that sustain life in the Milky Way, and these other life forms have had considerably more time than we've had, then where are all the aliens? This is the Fermi Paradox, and nobody has an answer to it. But we do have some ideas. Let's talk about filters. A filter in this context represents a barrier that is really hard for life to overcome. They come in various degrees of scary. 1. There are great filters, and we have passed them. Maybe it is way harder for complex life to develop than we think. The process allowing life to begin hasn't yet been completely figured out, and the conditions required may be really complicated.
The added thing aside, but yes, it is very complex. It is.
Maybe in the past, the universe was way more hostile, and only recently have things cooled down to make complex life possible. This would also mean that we may be unique, or at least one of the first, if not the first, civilization in the entire universe.
That's a possibility.
2.
That is the correct answer.
There are great filters, and they are ahead of us. This one would be really, really bad.
Nuclear war.
Maybe life on our level exists everywhere in the
Climate
universe,
change.
but it gets destroyed when it reaches a certain point, a point that
Graveyard
lies
war.
ahead of us. For example, awesome future technology exists, but when activated, it destroys the planet. The last words of every advanced civilization would be, "This new device will solve all of our problems once I push this button." If this is true, then we are closer to the end than the
Yeah, that's
beginning
a
of
scary
human
thought.
existence. Or maybe there is an ancient Type 3 civilization that monitors the universe, and once a civilization is advanced enough, it gets eliminated in an instant.
That's like an accurate description of, or semi-accurate description of the Book of Revelations. Yeah. When you see things you're not supposed to see, you do things you're not supposed to do, eventually it all comes crumbling down. Weeping and gnashing of teeth and all of that. Okay, sorry.
Not.
Maybe there is something out there that it would be better not to discover. There is no way for us to know. One final thought, maybe we're alone. Right now, we have no evidence that there's any life besides us. Nothing. The universe appears to be empty and dead. No one sending us messages, no one answering our calls. We may be completely alone, trapped on a tiny moist mud ball in an eternal universe. Does that thought scare you? If it does, you're having the correct emotional reaction. If we let life on this planet die, perhaps there will be no life left in the universe. Life will be gone, maybe forever. If this is the case, we just have to venture to the stars and become the first Type 3 civilization to keep the delicate flame of life existing and to spread it until the universe breathes its final breath and vanishes into oblivion. The universe is too beautiful not to be experienced by someone.
Or maybe we'll never know. This one didn't give me as much of an existential crisis as I'd hoped. Leave your thoughts on his final question down below, though.
Yeah, I'll give my thoughts on the video real quick. Maybe because of my my beliefs, my religious beliefs, so I'm inclined to sway in this direction. But to me, I believe we are alone in the universe, like as humans or intelligent life as we know it in the universe. But I believe in space, in the beyond, above the earth. I believe that there are creatures and beings that are far beyond our understanding of how beings should be, and those would be like angels, God, spirits, and all of that. And it is possible that they interact with us and we interact with them in ways that we don't fully understand, but in a way it's like we are not exactly alone in the universe, but the aliens or the other theory of like billions of life, I believe there are not other like aliens in other planets, just because for life to exist the way we know it is already almost impossible. That for it to happen twice, I don't know. I don't think that will happen more than once. And then probably we will destroy ourselves by technological advancements, or in our quest to not destroy ourselves, we end up in that eventuality. Existential crisis. You're welcome. Let's finish it.
Is it scarier if we're the only life forms, or if there are life forms on other planets? Also, just a side note, until I started posting videos on space on the channel, I wasn't aware of how many people don't believe in it, which I think is fascinating. Maybe you think we're in a simulation, or we're in the Truman Show, or nothing exists outside of Earth, I don't know. But if you're one of those people, feel free to explain your stance down below. Personally, I think that there is a strong possibility that there's life forms on other planets, just numerically, but it's also speculative. And that is, of course, based on the assumption that the universe is how we believe it to be. And while I do agree for the most part with those who think that there is some sort of arrogance at play when considering that we're the only life forms, I don't discount the possibility that we're the first. That being said, I don't know. It is still very much a debate. Someone interesting to read on the subject is Brian Cox, the physicist, not the actor from Succession, who gets into how he thinks it's probable that we're the only life forms in our galaxy. But I haven't read him say anything about being the only life forms in the universe. Now, he does have a lot of books, and I haven't read many of them. There is one called The Planets that I'll link down below for you. I think this one is one of his more entry-level books. The other ones get really deep into quantum theory, which sometimes is just right over my head. Well, quantum theory and quantum physics. Anyway, there's a part 2 to this video. Let's just get into that right now. So,
I don't know if I'm going to get into the part 2 in this same video, but I really like her take on it, and I don't even fully understand everything she's saying, but it sounds very well put together, and I really appreciate that. So that is No Protocol. Shout outs to her. Maybe I'll do a reaction on the part 2 some other time. The link on the original video will be in the description, and you guys can check her out. And maybe if you guys understand what she's saying better than I do, or you guys can let me know in the comment section, or if you have other ideas, places where I was way off, also let me know in the comment section. But it's a very interesting topic. All right, guys, deuces.